Once upon a time there were a woman, and she baked 5 pies. When those come out of the oven, it was that overbaked that the crust was too hard to eat. So she says to her daughter, "More," says she, "put them there pies on the shelf and leave them there a little, and they'll come again." She meant, you know, that the crust would get soft enough to eat. But the gal, she says to herself, "Wow, if they'll come again, I'll eat them now." And she set to work and she ate them all, first and last. Well, come supper time, the woman, she says, "Go and get one of them there pies. I dare say they'll come again now." Well, the gal, she went and she looked, but there weren't nothing there but the dishes. So back she comes, says she, "No, they ain't come again." "What? Not none of 'em?" says the woman. "No, not none of 'em," says the gal. "Well, come again or not come again," says the mother, "I'll have one for me supper." "But you can't if that's not come," says the gal. "Well, I can," says she. "Go you and get me the best on 'em." "Best or worst," says the gal. "I've ate 'em all, and you can't have one till that's come again." Wow! The woman, she were wholly baked, and she took her spinning wheel to the door to spin, and as she span, she sang, "My daughter have ate 5 pies today. My daughter have ate 5 pies today." Well, the king, he were coming down the street, and he heard the woman singing, but what she sang he couldn't hear, so he stopped her and he said, "What was that you were singing of, Moor?" "Well, sure, shame to let him know what her daughter been doing of." So she sang instead to that, "My daughter's spun 5 skeins today. My daughter's spun 5 skeins today." "Sires of mine," says the king, "I never heard tell someone who could do that." And he says, "Now look you here, I'm looking for a wife. Now I'll marry your daughter, but look you here," says he, 11 months a year she'll have all the victuals she likes to eat, all the gowns she likes to get, and all the company she likes to have. But the last month of the year she'll have to spin up 5 skeins every day, and if she don't, I shall kill her." "All right," says the woman, for she thought what a grand marriage that was. And as for them there 5 skeins, when the time come, there'd be plenty of ways of getting out of that. Likely to have forgotten all about it. Well, so they was married, and for 11 months of the year she had all the victuals she liked to eat, all the gowns she liked to get, and all the company she liked to have. But when the time was getting over, she began to think about them there skeins, and to wonder if he had 'em in mind. Not one word did he say about him, and she wholly thought he'd forgot him. However, the last day of the last month he takes her to a room she never set eyes on afore. There weren't nothing in there but a spinning wheel and a stool. And says he, "Now, my dear, here you'll be shutting tomorrow with some victuals and some flax, and if you ain't spun up 5 skeins by nightfall, your head'll go off." And away he went about his business. Wow! She was that frightened. She'd always been such a useless mother that she didn't know so much as how to spin. And what was she to do tomorrow, with no one to come nigh to help her? She sat down on a stool in the kitchen, and look, how she did cry. Howsoever, all of a sudden she heard a sort of a knocking, kind of, low down on the door. She upped and she oped it, and what should she see but a small little black impet with a long, long tail, that looked up at her right curious, and that said, "What you a crying for?" "What's that to you?" said she. "Never you mind," that said, "but tell me what you're crying for." "Won't do me no good if I do," said she. "You don't know that said, and that twirled that tail round." "Well," said she, "it won't do me no harm if it don't do me no good." And she upped and she told all about the pies and the skeins and everything. "This is what I'll do," says the impet. "I'll come to your window every morning to get the flax, and I'll bring it back spun at night." "What's your pay?" says she. That looked out of the corner of that's eyes, and that said, "I'll give you 3 guesses every night to guess my name, and if you haven't guessed it before the month's out, you shall be mine." Well, she thought she'd be sure to guess that's the name, for the month was up. All right, says she, I agree. All right, that said, look, how that twirled that tail. Well, the next day her husband, he took her in the room, and there was the flax in the day's victuals. Now here's the flax, says he, and if that ain't spun up this night, your head'll go off. And away he went, and he locked the door. Well, he hadn't hardly gone when there was a knocking against the window. She upped and shoped it, and there, sure enough, was a little old thing a-sitting on the ledge. Where's the flax, says he. Here it be, says she, and she conned it to him. Well, come the evening, there was a knocking again at the window. And there was a little black impet sitting on the ledge with the 5 skeins of flax all spun up upon its arm. Here to be, says he, and he conned it to her. Now what's my name? That said. What's that, Bill, says she. No, 'tain't, that said, and that twirled that's tail round. What is that? Ned, says she. No, 'tain't that neither, that said, and that twirled that's tail round. What is that? Oliver, says she. No, 'tain't that neither, that said, and that twirled that's tail round faster than ever, and away that flew. Well, shortly after, the king, he come in, and there was the 5 skeins of flax all ready for him. Well, I see I shan't have to kill you tonight, my dear, says he. You'll have your flax and your victuals in the morning, says he. And away he went. Well, every day the flax and the victuals they were brought. Every day that there little black impet used to come mornings and evenings. And all day the girl, she used to sit there trying to think of names for to say to it when it come at night, but she never hit on the right one. When it got towards the end of the month, the impet, that began for to look so maliceful, and that twirled that's tail faster and faster each time she gave a guess, and at last it came to the last day but one. The impet came at night along with the 5 skeins, and that said, What? Ain't you got my name yet? Oh, is that Nicodemus, says she. No, 'tain't, that said. What's that? Samuel, says she. No, 'tain't, that said. Oh, is that Methuselah, says she. No, 'tain't that neither, that said. Then that looked at her with eyes like coals of fire, and that said, Woman, there's only tomorrow night, then you shall be mine. And away that flew. Wow, she felt so horrid. Howsoever, she heard the king a-coming along the passage. In he came, and when he sees the 5 skeins, he says to her, says he, Well, my dear, says he, I don't suppose you'll have your skeins ready for tomorrow night as well. And so I reckon I shan't have to kill you. I'll have supper in here tonight. So they brought supper and another stool for him, and then the two they sat. Well, he hadn't but a mouthful or so when he stops and he begins to laugh. What's the joke, says she. Oh, why, says he, I went a-hunting today, and I got way to a place in the wood, never been in afore, and I heard a sort of humming, kind of, and there was a little old chalk pit, so I got off my hobby, and I went right quiet to the pit, and I looked down. Well, what should be there but the funniest little black impet you ever set eyes on? And what was that doing up? That had a little spinning wheel, and that were spinning away wonderful fast, and a twirling that's tail. And as that span, that sang, Nimmy, nimmy, not, me name's Tom Tit Tot. Nimmy, nimmy, not, me name's Tom Tit Tot. Wow! When the girl heard this, she felt as if she could have jumped out of her skin for joy, but she never said a word. Next day, that little thing looked so maliceful when it come for the flax. And when night came, she heard that knocking against the window panes. She opened the window, and that come right in on the ledge. And that were grinning from ear to ear. and all that tail were twirling around wonderful fast. What's my name? That said, as that gave her the skeins. Oh, is that Solomon? Says she, pretending to be afeard. No, 'tain't that, said that. Come further in the room. What's that? Zebedee, says she. No, 'tain't that neither, said the impet. Then that laughed, and that twirled that tail till you could hardly see it. Take your time, woman, that said. Next guess, and you're mine. And that stretched out that's bony hands at her. Well, she backed a step or two, and she looked at it, and then she laughed out, and says she, pointing her finger at it, nimmy, nimmy, not, your name's Tom Tit Tot. Wow! When that heard her, that shrieked awful. The way that flew in the dark, and she never saw it no more. True story.